Guys, I screwed up. When I downsized from the 13-inch iPad Pro to the 11-inch M5 iPad Pro, I thought it was going to solve all of my problems. It was the golden iPad. It was going to be, the endgame iPad. The performance upgrades were real, but in reality, the way I worked was a complete downgrade. So in today's video, we're going to talk about everything that I learned after 90 days of using the M5 iPad Pro, switching from a 13-inch to 11-inch, so you do not have to make the same mistake that I did. Hopefully it won't cost you $1,500 as well. Let's get right into it. Now we're going to start with the very first reason why I consider downsizing to the 11-inch iPad Pro, and I imagine it's very similar, if not the same exact reason, why you consider downsizing as well, and that's going to be for portability. Now the 13-inch iPad Pro, it's a beast. It's heavy to hold one-handed, which I imagine can't hold it for very long because it is so heavy and so unwieldy, and it's very heavy in the keyboard. I think it's about 3 pounds. And when you compare that to the 11-inch iPad Pro, the 11-inch iPad Pro is almost like the Goldilocks, you think about it. It's small, it's easy to use portability-wise, you can put it in a keyboard and you're still getting a lot of the benefit. But for me, I just don't have that because I am conditioned to use my iPad in the same exact way I've been using it for the past several years that I've had the 13-inch iPad Pro. I still use it in the car, I still use it while I'm traveling, I use it on the couch, I use it in bed. And because I'm still using it in those contexts that I'm used to, I'm still trying to apply the same thought process that I had to solve problems of not using my MacBook in those conditions or in those places. So you really want to understand from your own perspective, are you using this as a computer replacement or are you using this as a computer adjacent? And if you're using this computer adjacent, you can probably get away with the 11-inch. That's certainly fine. That means you'll probably be using it in a tablet mode more often. But for me, I don't use it in tablet mode very often, I think if at all. I'm going to be using it in keyboard mode most often, and that's where I'm using it. We'll be writing, going to be using it for documents, sending emails, and on the 11-inch iPad, it's just much harder, which we're going to talk about next. Now, the second reason why I am regretting my 11-inch iPad purchase is because of the way that I use my iPad. Now, for you, whether you're using it in tablet mode or keyboard mode, one of the biggest advantages this year is the ability to use the new multitasking workflow in iPadOS 26. This benefits you because you'll be able to layer many different windows on top of each other, and it really helps you be more effective with your iPad. Well, for me, how I think about using my iPad, because I mentioned I am mostly a keyboard first kind of person, the 11-inch screen size to the 13-inch screen size, it makes all the difference in the world because you're getting more screen real estate. Now, you wouldn't think it's actually that much, but because of the smaller screen real estate, it does cause me to switch windows more and allows for less parallel work to be done, in a moment. So I have to switch workspaces, which really impacts the way that I work, and it doesn't really feel as productive. So when we consider how we're using the iPad, which is number one, number two is going to be the screen size. Number three is going to be about the constraint. When I pick up my iPad, I'm generally going to use it between 15 and 60 minutes. If I have more than 60 minutes available, I'm going to use my Mac. If I have less than 15 minutes available, I'm going to use my iPhone. I really think about it in a time-based kind of context. So if I have more than 15 minutes available, we already established that I'm using it inside the Magic Keyboard. And for me, the Magic Keyboard is it's a great piece of hardware. It's just not comfortable to type on the 11-inch version. It's too small, too cramped. I've got big shoulders. So if I'm using this on the couch, it's just not that comfortable. Plus the trackpad is small, where if you're doing any type of manipulation, like maybe in Photos or in like Keynote, it doesn't work that well for me. So that's the next biggest thing, where it actually makes long sessions, between 15 and 60 minutes, fairly uncomfortable, which is why I end up just not picking it up. It's just something that repels me from wanting to use it. I'm like, oh, the keyboard's not attractive. I don't want to do this. I'm just going to use something else and pick up my Mac. And that leads us to the fourth reason why I regret buying my iPad Pro, which is all about confidence. Now, when we think about confidence, I've already established that I'm using my 11-inch iPad Pro far less than my 13-inch iPad Pro. And even though I'm using it far less, I still feel like I have to charge it like twice as much. Now, that's completely not normal. I do have this eroded sense of confidence in the device where it can't last or it won't last as long. And I end up leaving it in the keyboard case or in the stand or, in the sleeve, where it's just sitting there connected to a charger. And that's completely not normal, but that is my observation of it. That's how I feel about it. Now, think about why we buy the iPad in the first place. It is a grab and go type of machine. And when I had my 13-inch iPad Pro, I rarely had to look into the top right corner to figure out whether I had enough battery to last me throughout the day. It's almost like I've developed this range anxiety for my 11-inch iPad Pro, where I'm like, is it going to last me throughout the day? And it's just eating at me. I think it was last week I went to the coffee shop and I started working. Started off with 85%. I looked up at it again. It was 65%. I looked up at it again. It was like 58%. And I wasn't even there that long. And I'm just constantly worried whether or not it's going to last me throughout the day. On paper, I know the specs are good, but in reality, it's not. So if you have a 13-inch or an 11-inch iPad Pro, let me know how often you're charging your device. I do feel kind of in general that iPads last far less than they used to, but it feels like with this one, I'm actually charging it much, much more with not that much usage going into the device. And that leads us to the fifth reason why I regret buying the 11-inch iPad Pro, which is all about friction. Now, we talk about friction. I am someone who uses two iPads. I've almost been using two iPads for about 2 or 3 years. I have a couple videos about it. I'll link them above here. But because I use the 8.3-inch iPad mini as well as the iPad Pro, which would be the 13-inch iPad Pro, those two devices are largely very, very, very different. They're size different, they're weight different, they're used in different contexts. And because the 11-inch iPad Pro is very much similar to the 8.3-inch iPad, when I'm going to use one versus the other, to me, they almost overlap and one kind of nixes out the other. Now, I certainly could just get rid of the iPad mini and keep the iPad Pro, and that's not unreasonable, but the iPad mini excels at use cases like reading, editing, travel, and those use cases are where I like to use the iPad mini. And because the 11-inch and the iPad mini are just so similar in size, I don't, right? Like I don't want to get rid of the iPad mini because it does excel at those use cases. Now, we all have this ideal version of ourselves that we're trying to manage. And for me, it's Mike. I travel light. I go ahead and take the 11-inch iPad Pro. I stick it in my sling bag. I work from the park. Everything's fine and dandy. But the reality version of Mike, I'm the guy who works on deadlines, kicks ass, takes names, and I need the larger screen. And I found that the middle ground to be the iPad mini and the 13-inch iPad Pro because it just balances everything. And I actually found that it fit my work. So those are my 5 reasons why I regret my iPad Pro. I want to know from you, did you actually make the change and are you happy with the 11-inch iPad Pro or are you regretting it like I am? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, make sure you get subscribed because we have new iPad Airs coming out, I think next week, by the time that you're watching this, and we'll have iPad Airs as well. I think a brand new iPad, all with the M4 chip, if we're not got the rumors right. So my name is Mike, guys, and I will talk to you in the next one.